Raging out of control this morning, more homes destroyed by the wildfire in California, and the number of those forced out grows. What fire officials are concerned about today. Plus this.
It's important for people to have the facts about the project.
The city's version of Mythbusters. What city leaders say they want you to know as a judge prepares to hear arguments in the controversial ART bus project.
And day one of the DNC brought shouting, even some arrest. Will the Democratic Party come together on day two? Set to start in just hours. Our coverage starts now.
Good morning, 6 o'clock here on KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Adam Atchison.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christy Gutierrez. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday, July 26th. We begin this morning with day two of the Democratic National Convention. Party leaders hope to get things back on track today after the kickoff was overshadowed by controversy. We're
going to head straight to Philadelphia. KRQE national correspondent Chance Seals is live there at the Democratic National Convention. And Chance, last night's efforts to sort of unite the party got off to a rough start, right?
They did, Adam. The beginning of the day actually kicked it all off because Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairwoman of the party, she couldn't even gavel this thing into session because she was getting so many jeers at the Florida delegation's event. Then you go to the protesters who were arrested outside of the DNC, dozens of them, pro-Bernie people arrested outside. Then we got to hear in the auditorium throughout the night, we heard chants of Bernie or bust and shame on you and all sorts of things, and it really did not go the way they were hoping or planning.
I think we're all here because we're strong Democrats. We have democratic beliefs, and again, we don't want to give the White House to a Republican who doesn't believe in the same ideals.
So as you hear, some folks trying to gather some party unity, and the main one trying to do it today, former President Bill Clinton. He's going to be speaking on the theme of the day, fighting for children and families, and talking about how Hillary Clinton has been doing that throughout her 5-decade career. Whether he can ignite and inspire unity here in the room, that remains to be seen. But if anyone can do it, many people think it would be Bill Clinton.
A chance, we saw Donald Trump break a little from tradition during the Republican National Convention and show up early in the week. Any chance we're going to see maybe Hillary Clinton do the same thing with her husband speaking tonight? Any word on that?
Yeah, Adam, well, Donald Trump broke many traditions during the course of the RNC, but one of them, as you said, was actually showing up in person, which he did before Melania Trump's speech and many other things. We haven't heard any indication so far that Hillary Clinton could do that. What could happen is she could appear by video. I would tell you, not only would it be breaking tradition, it also would be a little bit risky, in my assessment, to show up before the party is fully united. Although she is going to be formally nominated today, she might let it settle a little bit more before she steps into the room to make sure that there is a solidified support behind her, because the last thing she'd want to do is step on stage and hear any booing.
We'll be watching it all in full. Chance Seals live in Philadelphia at the Democratic National Convention. Thanks, Chance.
And remember, stay with KRQE News 13 this morning as we continue following the Democratic National Convention all week long. You can also stay up to date with our KRQE News app.
Let's turn our attention to the weather. 6:03 this morning. Kristen Curry's watching a chance for some heavy rain.
Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, that is going to be the main threat with today's storms and showers. Very similar to what we had yesterday, although we'll start to shift most of that activity a little further west. You'll notice Doppler radar still showing quite a bit of some rain out across southern New Mexico here. Not very heavy. It'll continue to fade through sunrise, but we're not done yet. We have more of these storms expected through this afternoon, so we'll squeeze what we can out of the showers out there near Chavez and Lee County, but we're nowhere near done. Hourly forecast puts us back into the low 90s here in the metro today. More storms expected for us even here in Albuquerque, very similar to yesterday afternoon, and even those overnight hours had some storms fire up over on the west side. So it is a good day for rain. Cooler afternoon temperatures nearly statewide before that warm up kicks back in tomorrow when we start to dry out later on this week. I'll break down your full forecast, including that 7-day coming up here in just about 15 minutes.
All right, Kristen, we'll see you then. Developing this morning, some police departments are trying to play catch up this morning after an audit surrounding rape cases uncovered a major backlog problem at departments all over the state. Tim Keller announced a statewide audit of the backlog 2 months ago and scheduled community meetings in cities like Espanola, where the auditor's office says the backlog dated back to 2003.
Once we sort of announced our plans to audit and where we were going, folks really stepped it up. And actually, before we got there,
In fact, he says of the 7 planned visits, 5 cleared their backlog that spanned for years in a matter of weeks or months. Hobbs had 126 untested kits in December. Those all went to the crime lab, the auditor's office says. Espanola had 23, all sent to be tested now. And the same for Las Cruces and its 76 kits. The auditor's office completed report is expected to be released in a month or 2.
On to news happening tomorrow. A federal judge is expected to hear a lawsuit against the controversial ART bus project. As for today, the city is releasing what it calls mythbusters about the project. The city has posted information on the ART website in hopes of clearing up any misinformation they say is spreading around, like parking spots will be reduced or eliminated because of ART. However, the city says they're actually adding 50 parking spots along Central. The city says getting this information out to the public is important, especially if the judge rules in their favor.
Waiting on the judge ruling in court case this week to see what if there's any response that we need to provide him on the case. But all efforts are pointing towards starting this project August 3rd.
There is also a petition circulating that would force the project on the ballot in November. However, if the judge gives the go-ahead this week, the city says it will start that project. We posted a link to the ART Mythbusters on our KRQE News app.
Time now 6:06. A wildfire that's already forced thousands from their homes on the edge of Los Angeles continues to burn uncontrolled this morning. About 10,000 homes are still under mandatory evacuation. The fire broke out Friday. So far, that raging fire has destroyed 18 homes and threatens thousands of others. The sand fire has torched more than 35,000 acres. It's just 10% contained as we begin the day. Firefighters hoping to get a whole lot more handle on that soon.
Very scary there.
It's a social movement. That's absolutely what it is.
Putting a patch on drunk driving, a local business creates a new patch that its makers say could stop you from getting behind the wheel drunk.
And housing for the homeless, the new projects planned at the Albuquerque Rescue Mission, and how organizers say they're going to help people get back on their feet. Plus this.
To the Bernie or bust people, you're being ridiculous.
Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention set to start in just a few hours after a rough start. What we can expect today and what all went down on the first day. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Christina Gutierrez.
I'm Adam Atchison. Good to have you along. Today is Tuesday, July 26th. We'll get to today's top stories here in just a moment. First, though, big story of the day is the weather forecast.
Yeah, with all the showers we've been seeing, Kristen Curry is tracking the latest on that. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. More showers and more storms expected this afternoon with cooler temperatures to match. So we'll first start with a look at the Doppler radar, still tracking some very light morning rain down across southern New Mexico here. These will continue to fade through sunrise, even though lightning threat has diminished with those storms out across the southeast. Now Albuquerque, a little bit high cloud cover here and there. Temperature not bad in the 70s still. We've got 50s up in the northern mountains, more of those 70s out across southern New Mexico, 60s in both Gallup and Grants. Now humidity, take a look at those values out east. 96% relative humidity out across Las Vegas, Clayton and Tucumcari with humidities in the 80s, and even Albuquerque, a little humid out there. We'll start to work with that moisture more so this afternoon with storms and showers, a good bet for the metro as we pass the noon hour. Like yesterday, I expect most of this to be an afternoon and evening event. Good day for storms, though. Cooler afternoon temperatures across the state, even here in the metro. We'll lose again 5 degrees off those temperatures, but a late week drag out, and we're starting to warm back up as early as tomorrow. I'll break down your entire forecast coming up here in just about 15 minutes.
Meantime, just into our newsroom, authorities in France now say that ISIS is claiming responsibility for 2 suspects that took a church in Normandy hostage, killing an 84-year-old priest in the process. French officials say the 2 suspects were killed. Police say 2 men armed with knives took that priest, 2 nuns, and 2 parishioners hostage. French investigators say the 2 attackers were then killed by police after coming out of the church building. As of an hour ago, officials say at least 1 hostage was killed, but it's unclear if any others were injured. No names have been released. This latest attack comes as France is on high alert after a Bastille Day attack that killed 84 people in Nice and a series of deadly attacks last year, also claimed by the Islamic State group. 6:33 and happening today, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton is expected to make history as she becomes the first female nominee of a major party, but it isn't without controversy.
Hillary Clinton must become the next president of the United States.
Supporters of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders repeatedly booed and interrupted DNC events on day 1. Some of Sanders' supporters say They'll never vote for Hillary, even if it means Donald Trump is elected president. Several dozen of pro-Bernie Sanders activists were arrested outside the DNC yesterday. Meanwhile, First Lady Michelle Obama tried to bridge the divide in her speech from the podium.
Only one person who I believe is truly qualified to be president of the United States, and that is our friend Hillary Clinton.
Today's speeches included women who have lost their children to gun violence, among them Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, and Leslie McSpadden, the mother of Michael Brown.
And remember to stay with KRQE News 13 this morning as we continue following the Democratic National Convention all week long. You can also stay up to date with our KRQE News app. Moving on to this, 100 homeless men and women will soon be moving into Albuquerque Rescue Mission's latest edition, a long-term housing project that will allow 26 women and 72 men to stay for up to 2 years with an opportunity to transform their lives. Officials say the Women's Center of Hope is near completion. It was once a dance studio that the rescue mission turned into offices. Now it will house dozens of women in dorm-style rooms, complete with bathrooms, powder rooms, a classroom, a computer lab, lounge, and a place to do laundry. People in need will be able to submit applications soon.
They're selected by our belief that they want to change, that they really have made steps to change, that they're interested in going through the hard work that's going to be required to get their lives turned around.
The rescue mission is looking to begin transforming the current men's building into a women and children's center. It will house 31 mothers and their kids. But first, they need $500,000 to get that project started. The new centers should be open by August or early September.
In just hours, the stepfather of Omari Varela could know his sentence on charges unrelated to the boy's death. Omari's mother, Cynthia Varela Casals, pleaded guilty to kicking her son to death in December of 2013. In September of last year, Stephen Casals was found guilty of not stepping in to save Omari by calling 911 or taking him to a hospital. He was sentenced to 30 years in that case. Today, Stephen Casals is expected to be back in court for federal drug charges for meth dealing and also having a gun. That's what he's accused of. He faces up to 9 more years in prison.
Drunk driving, a big problem across the country, but one Albuquerque company wants to stop drunk drivers before they get behind the wheel by using a patch.
And while sweat patch testing is not a new concept, this team wants to put this idea into high gear to help put the brakes on DWI.
It's going to look essentially something like this. You can place it on your arm, you can place it, in this area.
That's Matthew Aaron, who works for Dermatech, one of many new Albuquerque companies that call the Bioscience Center home. Researchers there created a patch that changes color if it detects alcohol in your sweat. It can be manufactured cheaply and then let designated drivers know if you're too drunk to drive.
Dermatech seeks to create a culture of accountability, not after somebody gets arrested, but before the fact, from the get-go.
Right now, Dermatech is looking for $200,000 in funding to make more of those patches. We posted more information on them on the KRQE News app today.
On to this developing story this morning. A man is in custody in Japan hours after a stabbing spree that left 19 people dead. Police say Satsuchi Uematsu also injured dozens of other people, stabbing patients as they slept at a facility for the disabled. Police say hours later, the 26-year-old suspect, a former employee at the facility, turned himself in, claiming responsibility for that attack. He allegedly told police that he wanted to, quote, get rid of the disabled from the world. Authorities say he had been involuntarily committed to the same hospital back in February. Weeks later, a doctor said his condition had improved.
Time now 6:37. William Shakespeare is waking up behind bars this morning. And of course, we're not talking about the 452-year-old playwright. Shakespeare is charged with criminal damage to property at 2 Albuquerque businesses. It started outside the Blake's Lottaburger near Eubank and Manal, where this man named Shakespeare allegedly sprayed a fire extinguisher at people. Then employees at a nearby Walgreens say he stormed inside there, went crazy in a back room, throwing items around. They say he then started talking about mysterious men trying to get him. He was covered in blood when medics and police arrived. He's expected to be released to get mental health treatment.
A New Mexico artist will soon start work again for a customer. This after thieves took off with a set of metal gates he had already completed.
They totally would have to build a wall to accommodate the gates.
That's Gilbert Romero, the maker of these custom metal gates with a hummingbird design. He created them for a customer in Espanola, but sent them to a shop in Albuquerque to get a powder coating. That's when someone broke in and stole them. Romero says there's not much you can do with the gates since you can't use them just anywhere, and the metal's only worth a few cents a pound. Still, he plans to create the gates all over again for his client.
Quick warning about this video could be disturbing to some. We have a video that shows a tiger attack at a wildlife park in China that left one woman dead, another injured. You see this woman get out of the car. She opens the driver's side door, but a tiger then snatched her right there. A second woman hopped out to help. Authorities at the Wildlife World Refuge there say she was killed then by a second tiger. The park rules tell tourists to keep their car doors locked and windows closed during the safari-style tour. The park now closed as officials investigate that attack.
On to this, New Mexico teens jumpstarting their careers while helping a fire department in desperate need. It's part of Sandoval County Fire Department's residence program. 4 19-year-olds are getting help with college tuition and fire certifications, but they're also helping a department in need of staff. Sandoval County covers more than 3,700 square miles, much of which is Pueblo land that is not taxable. That means they cannot afford to pay more fire crew staff. The department relies heavily on volunteers with this program. They hope it's to inspire a new generation.
It's setting up everything because this is what I want to do. I want to be a fireman.
And while their residence program is full for now, Sandoval County Fire can always use more volunteers. Good for them.
All right, 6:40 this morning.